Alright, let's just get right into it. Overwatch just revealed the patch notes for Season 4. This includes a rework for BRIG's Rally Ultimate, which was previously one of, if not the worst ultimate ability in the entire game. It's now currently the talk of Twitter, with certain Overwatch creators throwing massive tantrums over it, and some of the most pathetic displays I've ever seen out of the Overwatch community. Some of them aren't even highlighting that it's only during her ult that she gets these new changes, and are trying to make it out to be some kind of permanent addition to her kit, which is confusing a lot of people who just see these tweets, as I have seen a lot of people that really do think that this is just something that she can permanently do now and not just something that she gets during a 10-second ultimate ability. I mean, God forbid if we give BRIG ult something unique to do to let it stand on a similar power level to other support ultimates, like Lucio's Beat, Zenyatta's Transcendence, Kiriko's Kitsune Rush, Baptiste's Amplification Matrix. They're literally just showing a clip of them stunning a bot on the practice range, and then acting like somebody just executed their own mother right in front of them. It's just really pathetic. I will gladly eat shit and apologize if this turns out to be incredibly overpowered and ruins the game completely, but honestly I doubt that that will happen, because it seems like it's actually really easy to counter BRIG's stun. All you have to do is shoot the damn shield. 750 health is not a lot of health, especially for an ultimate that gets announced to the entire enemy team. If your team just focus fires the BRIG shield for 1 second, it will break. And if that shield breaks, then it goes on cooldowns for a full 5 seconds before she's even able to pull up the shield again. And if she can't pull up the shield, then she's not able to perform a shield pass at all. The shield having a larger hitbox will also make it easier to break, because it's just much easier to hit. A Cassidy can literally just fan the hammer on the shield, and it will be left with only 150 health. I would be surprised if BRIGs even go for the shield pass in ult, considering that she can't rely on the extra health regen from Rally to stay alive anymore once she goes in. At most, the big shield will probably just be used to try and block Earth Shatters and Tactical Visors. Maybe it'll be used to try and stun an out-of-place ultimate, like if someone tries to ult while standing directly next to a BRIG, but at that point, honestly, they kind of deserve to be stunned out of their ultimate if they use it that out of position. But also remember that this is an ultimate ability. It should actually be impactful. And honestly, I'm completely fine if they remove the stun if it's enough of a problem, because I don't think that it will see much use because of how risky it is to push into an enemy team to try and take advantage of it, since the Rally movement speed boost is slower. So if she holds shield, players can just outrun her even when walking backwards. And again, she also doesn't get the constantly regenerating Rally health anymore. I just think that people are massively overreacting to the thought that BRIG might actually be able to do something with her ultimate. You also need to note that they also nerfed Repair Pack Brains in this update, which is actually a pretty sizable nerf to her overall power out of her ult. And yes, her ult is definitely better than it was before, but that's not saying anything, especially since her ult was really bad in the first place. I also don't think that she really needed to be buffed, as she was in a good spot before. She was very good against dive tanks, especially Ball, because he has a really good peel. But base BRIG is actually nerfed with these changes. They are only present during her ultimate, and fully trying to abuse them playing aggressively will probably be a much riskier play than people assume it will be. Sorry about the rant. People acting mega entitled to game balance without even seeing the changes in action, or even trying to adjust to it in the first place before whining about it, just really annoys me. This all just reminds me of the Season 3 Mercy changes, where there was a clip that showed she could tank a Bob in Valkyrie by healing 5 critical Roadhogs at the same time with her new passive, and people thought that it was broken as fuck. And then in-game, whoops, turns out the regen is incredibly inconsistent, and the ult is much worse than it was before, which is why in this patch they're adding back the constant regen to her ult. I don't want to name or so any of the creators that I've seen that were just having a mental breakdown on Twitter, because honestly I don't care or have beef with any of them. I just think that it's very pathetic behavior to do this before the patch even comes out and players get to try the changes for themselves. Anyways, moving on to the next most talked about change, we have the Mercy changes, which win the award for the most poorly written patch notes in history, mainly because nobody actually knows what the heck a jump and crouch cancel active ability state even is. But to explain, it's basically been in the game since Overwatch 2's launch. It's not something new that they added in just for this update. Basically, after you perform a jump boost, you have that second where you keep the high speed from the jump boost before you begin to slow down back to regular Mercy speed. You are able to cancel that by letting go of the Guardian Angel button and lose the higher speed earlier, but also start the cooldowner. but now in the new version you can't cancel out of the additional speed, but you can keep it for 0.5 seconds longer. So basically, if you usually hold down Guardian Angel when super jumping to get the maximum distance, then Mercy is almost back to old Overwatch 2 Mercy. You just get 0.5 extra seconds of the higher speed, and then you just have the 1.5 second cooldown after that. In addition, they rolled back her healing, so it's now just 55 health per second with no boost for allies under half health. I honestly think this is a really good change to make her healing more consistent. As before with the healing boost, you had some really bad interactions with low health allies that were just very not fun to play against. And they also buffed Valkyrie so that now Mercy also constantly has the support passive active while it's in use. So hopefully these will make it a bit better to play as Mercy, so that they can just stop touching Mercy, since every time they do, they just seem to make her feel worse and worse to play as. Next we have changes from Moira, and she can now fade during Coalescence. In exchange, her movement bonus during Coalescence has been reduced from 50% to 40%, and the lingering heal on her healing spray has been increased from lasting 2 seconds to lasting 3 seconds. These changes aren't going to break Moira at all. She'll still be just around the same where she was before. She's now just less susceptible to certain ultimates while she's using Coalescence, especially against ultimates like Diva Bomb and Cassidy's High Noon. If Moira was using Coalescence during these ultimates, she was kinda just caught out. Even if she had Fade off cooldown, she just couldn't use it, but now she will be able to use Fade to try and get to safety. Next up we have Ana getting changed so that sleep darts last for 30% less when used on tank heroes. This knocks them out for 3.5 seconds instead of 5 seconds. I honestly think this seems like a very fair change that will make tanks a bit less obnoxious to play as, since the enemy team doesn't have as long to set up an execution on you if you were to get slept. I also think it's not too bad for Ana, as in a lot of cases, the sleep is just like a stun, basically. Normally you don't let it wait out for the full 5 seconds regardless. You usually sleep them and then just immediately throw an anti on them. So that's not going to change much, but it will just make tanks less obnoxious to play as, because you can't just be left there sleeping for 5 seconds. It's at least not as long that you have to sit there as the tank. Moving on to the damage changes, Cassidy's finally seeing a nerf to his magnetic grenade, with the damage going from 131 to 120. I actually really like this change, since at 131 damage, all you had to do was hit one body shot on a target after they've been stuck to confirm a kill on squishies, which was honestly way too easy and reliable to get done. Now you at least need to hit a couple of body shots or one headshot to secure the kill, which I think is much more fair. Skilled Cassidys will still be able to one-tap guarantee and heal him on a stuck target with a headshot, but it's not as consistent as it was before when all that you needed was a body shot. He's also getting his base health reduced from 225 to 200, which is honestly probably a bigger change than the magnetic grenade nerfs, as the health nerf will always be impacting him, while the magnetic grenade nerf is only relevant whenever he has the ability and uses it. I think that Cassidy may even follow the meta a bit with these changes, as players move back towards using Ass and maybe even Sojourn, as Cassidy can't really get those easy kills as reliably as he could with magnetic grenade. Next on to Sombra, he can now disable Blizzard with EMP. Wow, amazing. Makes the interaction more consistent with other ultimates. Hooray. This will be a slightly better pick against Mei, which could be relevant, since I think Mei is pretty underrated right now and might see more popularity soon. But other than that, she's still kind of a mid to low tier pick, especially if you don't have good team coordination. Lastly, moving on to tanks. Reinhardt gets a nerf going from 300 to 250 armor, but going up from 175 to 200 base health. This is probably the strangest change in the patch notes, because these are Reinhardt's HP values for open queue, and there's nothing indicating if he's also seeing a nerf in roll queue or not, despite the developer's comments and patch notes not mentioning if this is an open queue only change, which seems like a really important distinction to make, as a lot of people play unranked and ranked roll queue. So yeah, no idea if roll queue Reinhardt is actually being nerfed or if this is just an open queue change. 0 out of 10, I don't know how to make any opinions on this because I don't know what this means. Sigma also gets a change to Accretion, lowering the impact damage from 60 to 40, making it deal 80 damage total, while also increasing the knockdown duration of the ability from 0.8 seconds to 1.1 seconds. So Sig's one-shot combo is now gone. Now after being hit with his rock and 2 primaries, you now live with 10 HP. Honestly, I think this change would be pretty good for the game even without increasing the knockdown duration. The longer knockdown might even make it more annoying to play against him than before, since he can now take his time with his follow-up shots, so they're even more likely to hit you. And also, you only live by 10 HP, so if you take damage damage from almost anything, you will still just die. So we'll have to see how this plays out in matches. It could easily be a heavy net nerf or a small net buff for Sick, because we can't really just look at these changes in a vacuum. We need to see how they interact with a full 5v5 team environment. And yeah, that's it for the changes this patch. They seem really lacking compared to other patches they put out, but honestly I think that's fine. They're adding an entirely new hero to the game, and the game was already in a pretty balanced state before. I think that we'll be seeing a shift in meta due to Overwatch League starting up in a couple of weeks after Season 4 begins, and whatever is being played there will slowly trickle down the competitive ladder as people try out the new comps that Overwatch League teams are running, so they don't need to put out a big sweeping set of changes to try and push the meta in a new direction, as I feel like we're likely to see a more natural shift in the meta sometime soon. No hate to anyone, and that's the end. See ya.